Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're going to be looking at Highland Fauna from Pernowka. This deck is a throwback all the way to 2014, and we're going to be getting a look at a beautiful deck from the Prague-based duo of Luke Tomski and Tomski Polanski. The pair wanted to do a deck that featured a kind of whimsical look at some of the animals of the Czech Republic Highlands. And so Highland Fauna is the result. Features some amazingly detailed artwork and a beautiful vintage style throughout. This is a deck I'd been looking for a very long time. Excited to get a hold of it and really excited to share this one with you guys. So let's get right into it. All right, starting with the tuck case, you'll see right off it's not your standard poker-sized deck of cards. This is instead a bridge-sized deck, meaning it's a little bit narrower than your typical deck of cards. So same height, just a little bit narrower. And right off the bat, you can see some of the really intricate artwork done in a vintage style. So this is really the back of the tuck case, but it has the design that I consider more the front. So you can see the flap opens up right here, so meaning this is the back of the tuck case. But it features kind of a portrait here of the first of our many Highland creatures that we're going to see featured. And this one I think is a little bit of a mythical creature. It's kind of a dog-like creature with these menacing claws. Not sure if that's meant to be a mythical creature or just some sort of wolf making its way through the forest, but kind of that menacing look as it's reared up on its hind legs. And you can see the forest surrounding him in the background. All done in a hand-drawn style. Everything in here is hand-drawn and really nicely done. And then you have Highland Fauna on the banners in the top and the bottom, 2014, so that's when the deck was printed. And then the bottom, 52 playing cards plus 3 bonus. Really nice details all the way around on this one. The shading, almost an engraving style to it, but that hand-drawn, there's the hash marks everywhere. Really has a great vintage feel to the deck overall. And then the little tiny pops of red that you can see up at the top really stand out. This one in particular has the Pernowka logo there with the stylized P in the center, almost stamped onto the top. Sides have Pernowka mentioned in prominent letters on both sides. The bottom here has some ad copy, including mentioning this is a 1,000 piece limited edition, and these are produced, of course, like I mentioned, in the Czech Republic and printed by a little bit of an unknown printer called Hradčí karty. Not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but that's Czech for playing cards. And so this was done by, like I said, a pretty unknown printer in the Czech Republic. Top here, you can see it is individually numbered. So this is hand numbered out of the 1,000 deck run. So I got number 580 here. And then on the back, you get some more beautiful descriptive text about the deck. That mentions you can discover anthropomorphic fauna in a deck of cards. All artwork highly inspired by the Highland Forests is by the duo of Tomski and Polanski. Mention the pair of them up top. And I really like this four-handed illustration. So mentioning that the two of them worked together to produce this one. So again, beautifully done with that same banner styling around the edge. Just a really cool vintage, almost sort of Victorian feel to the deck overall. As you open up the inner flap here, you get another nice pop of that red and our dog friend there rearing his head on both sides. A little claw there on each of the inner flaps and a repeated pattern printed on the interior of the deck as well. So you have that Pernowka logo again, that emblem, and then the dog kind of repeated all the way down the interior of the tuck case. So very nice tuck case. Love the vintage feel to it overall. I do believe if you do get a hold of these, I don't think that these came cello wrapped, so you can expect to see them no seal and just kind of loose like this. Not 100% sure on that, but that's how I received the deck. All right, but now let's look at the cards, and we'll start with the back design. And here it is. So really kind of simple pattern overall, but features a diamond pattern with what kind of are like branches from the trees of the forest. And then in the center here are little eyeballs all the way through. It's a really fun, kind of creepy, mysterious vibe to it overall. It is a one-way back design, both for some of the kind of darker shading you can see around the edges and the corners here, but then also the eye pattern here in the middle you can see isn't quite symmetrical top to bottom. So it is a one-way back design. I think it really simply could have been modified into a two-way back design, but overall, fun artistic look to it overall. And something that really stands out is being, at a distance, just a regular diamond pattern, but then you get up close and there's a lot of interesting little detail in there. I love that it's a bordered back design. I really like that dark edges kind of give it a little bit of a weathered look overall. So there's your back design. I get a pair of jokers, and the jokers, like all the cards, feature a big, bold black border, which takes an already kind of narrow card and makes it feel even narrower. The background here kind of has an aged parchment style to it. You can see the little stains all over the place. And then your two jokers are just an identical pair. Love the handwritten font for Joker in the corner. And then once again, that dog-like creature from the tuck case making his way to the two jokers. Again, that similar hand-drawn art style that we've seen throughout the deck, just really nicely done. The other extra card you get, this is a bit of a fun one, you get a reserve card. So it has that target in the middle, written reserve card, and then has a blank pip and index there in the corner. Almost looks like a domino in the corner there in blue. And I think this is meant to be so that you can basically replace any lost card in the deck with the reserve card. Just write in your own suit and value there in the corner. So if you lost the 7 of hearts, just write in 7 of hearts, and now you have your 7 of hearts back. So kind of a cool little extra there. The 4 aces, all nicely done, and feature prominently the Pernowka logo. So you get that kind of domino shape there in the center with the ace of spades, that pip and index done in kind of a calligraphy style, and all done in negative space. You get the black border, but then the white index in the center. And then in the middle here, you have the large spade pip being almost carried away by an eagle or a crow or some sort of animal up there. And then the background has that Pernowka stamp, almost reminiscent of like the classic tax stamps that would authenticate the deck of cards. You get that Pernowka stamp in the back, and kind of in keeping with the authentication feature of that stamp, you can see it says, "This is real ace." So authenticating the card as we go. The other 3 aces feature a much simpler look, a little bit larger custom pip there in the center, that hand-drawn style again. And then once again has that authentication stamp, just a little bit smaller on each one of them. And then there's your ace of clubs and the ace of hearts. Beautiful pips on these, and a great style overall. And again, that really heavily weathered, kind of aged paper look to the outside. Number cards are all pretty simple. They feature those, again, very rough hand-drawn pips, that sketched imperfect style that I think is really, really nice. Easy to read pip and index in the corner. And as you go through, you'll see interesting spacing on the pips overall. So like here on the 3, you'll see they're not exactly evenly spaced overall. Instead, 2 at the top and then 1 at the bottom. And you'll see as we go through some of the numbers, kind of unusual spacing, like there on the 5. So kind of a classic layout, but different a little bit. And again, kind of keeping in the fun, imperfect feel of the deck as a whole, which I kind of like. There's your 10, and then as you go to the diamonds, you'll see it kind of goes to a lighter red, a little bit of orangish red on the red cards, and then true black on the black cards. So, love that the pips don't all match each other. They really just kind of keep with that hand-drawn vintage style that just works so well through the rest of the deck. Clubs are definitely my favorite. I love that little stick figure, almost looks like a little stick figure tree of some sort in the middle there. And then into the hearts. And that's the number cards. But the real highlight of this deck is in the court cards, and they are truly beautiful. Now, you may have mentioned, remember on the tuck case, mentioned we're going to discover anthropomorphic fauna, basically animals that have human-like characteristics, and that's what we're going to see all through the court cards. Each one of them features one of the animals that you'd maybe find in the Highlands, and they are so intricately and beautifully illustrated. And of course, you can see the first one here on the Jack of Spades is a raven labeled there at the bottom, and then features a large human-like raven. So the head of a raven, but then you can see like the arms and hands of a human there. Really nicely illustrated, and just so much detail that goes into this one. That large red prominent border labels this as the Jack of Spades, and you'll see this sort of cryptic writing or symbols here at the bottom. And this is an interesting little feature that's included on all of the court cards. This is a bit of a hidden message. So if you take this and look at it in a mirror, you'll see the hidden message for the raven that reads, "Fly like an eagle with the wings of a wren." And that one, you see different messages on each one of the court cards. We'll talk through them, but it's a fun little hidden message, and each one of them is sort of meant to reveal the wisdom of the animals that we see on the court cards. So fly like an eagle with the wings of a wren. That actually is a reference or a version of a quote from William Henry Hudson, who's an Argentinian author, referring to the fact that you can't fly like an eagle if you simply have the wings of a wren. So basically knowing about your limitations. And then we'll see continued through each one of the court cards. Again, just beautiful styling, the Victorian dress, the mixture of the human and the animal together. So we have the owl featured here on the Queen of Spades. Her quote reads, "Silence, the source of strength," which is a quote from Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher. King of Spades features a buzzard. Love, by the way, one of the other things that I'll really highlight in this, the little tiny pops of red that you get on the characters. So here on the buzzard, you can see he has a card in his hand there in bright red, and his eye is a glowing bright red. Very fun look to it overall. This one, maybe you can kind of make out some of the reverse text. But this one reads, "Bird never wants a cage," which is a version of a quote from Henrik Ibsen, who's a Norwegian playwright. The full quote, I believe, is, "A forest bird never wants a cage." All right, now we go to the diamonds, and we feature a snail here. So all the diamonds feature kind of, I don't know, reptilian, amphibious, water-based creatures, I guess I would say, in some way. So the first one is a snail. Very fun look to this one overall. Literally just the curl of the snail's head, or the snail's shell as the head. That's a really cool one. And the quote down here reads, "Hidden nature is secret God." A bit of an obscure quote, but that one comes from an Indian philosopher named Sri Aurobindo. Yeah, there you go. And then the Queen of Diamonds is the fish. Very cool. The clothing even kind of resembles waves on this one. Very interesting look to this one. Those bright red clouds in the background. And then the quote reads, "Dead fish swim with the stream." That's probably my favorite quote out of all of them. It comes from English journalist Malcolm Muggeridge, and it's kind of speaks to the need to be different in some way, swim against the current, if you will. Next up is the King of Diamonds, whose quote reads, "Your story begins with a snake." I couldn't find what that quote was a reference to. It's actually attributed to, of all people, Nicolas Cage. Very odd, but his thing, "Your story begins with a snake." But feels a little bit to me like a reference to like a creation story or something like that. The snake obviously plays a role in the Christian creation story. That's kind of reinforced by the apple that the snake's holding. So maybe a reference to the serpent that tempted Adam and Eve with the apple from the tree of knowledge. So there's your King of Diamonds. Next up on the Jack of Clubs, we get a look at a butterfly here. Very cool. I love that. I don't know what that is, the nose, I guess I would call it, the curling there from the face, and the large protruding eyes. Just a really cool look. And then a couple of literal butterflies over the shoulder. And then the quote that reads, "No imagination, no wings." No imagination, no wings actually comes from Muhammad Ali, who among his other quotes, he actually said, "Dance like a butterfly, sting like a bee." So kind of fitting that he would be quoted on the butterfly. And then next up we had the butterfly, now we have the bee, and another really cool one holding that single flower and that very deadpan look in the eyes. This is the one that reads, "Work to become, not to acquire," quote from American writer Elbert Hubbard. And then the final of the clubs, the King of Clubs, features the stag beetle, kind of a blood-stained look at the end of the I don't know what those are called, the protrusions on the face there. And then the quote, "Use great power tightly." Again, couldn't find what that quote is attributed to, but definitely makes me think of "with great power comes great responsibility" from Spider-Man. All right, then we go to the final, and now we have literal, sort of more classically thought of woodland creatures, starting with the rabbit on the Jack of Hearts with the quote, "Will my luck hold?" Of course, a rabbit's foot, the classic symbol of good luck, and then also holding a four-leaf clover there, another symbol of good luck. This one you can see, interesting, the hand there kind of gripping the ears of the Jack of Hearts. And then the Queen of Hearts, which features a fox, complete with the chicken that is clutching, and the blood dripping from the lips. So maybe kind of about to eat that chicken maybe. And then underneath is the quote, "Beware of the temptations." And then finally, the King of Hearts, featuring the stag, and the stag's kind of just pulled the arrow out of its own chest. Maybe that's a little bit of a nod to the classic suicidal king. Usually has the sword through the head. And then the quote underneath here is a nice one, "Remember the love." So very beautiful look to all of the court cards in this one. Notice there's a little bit of a longer look through the court cards, but I think each one of those just really had to, really needed the chance to appreciate all the artwork on those. But anyway, that is the deck. Now, as far as handling, mentioned before, these are printed in the Czech Republic, so not one of your classic printers, and it's done with kind of a smooth finish on a little bit of a thicker stock. So shuffles and handles reasonably well. Certainly does not fan as smoothly as your classic decks. So this is not a handling deck by any means. And I don't think as you look through the deck that that's really where it's going to find its use for the most part anyway. With it being one way and bridge size and having those maybe a little bit harder to read indices in the corner, I think this is really just going to be an art deck first and foremost. And so for me, handling doesn't bother me one bit. But anyway, that is a look at a bit of a throwback Highland Fauna from 2014. Hope you enjoyed this look and hope it got a chance to show off a deck that maybe you hadn't seen or even heard of before. But anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews, more unboxings. Let me know what else you want to see, and I'll see you for the next one.